Hi everybody and welcome back to the channel. Back in 2020 I uploaded a video showing how my hometown of Walton on the Naze looked during the COVID lockdown, when for many months the beaches were deserted and businesses were forced to close down. So what I thought I'd do is to roll the clock forward to 2023 to show how things are now that the coastal town is back to normal, and also how things have changed. Many day trippers and holiday makers come to Walton on the Naze and nearby Clacton-on-Sea, coming up from London or any of the stations between, like Romford and Chelmsford. And to reach Walton you do need to change trains at a little changeover station called Thorpe-le-Soken. Then there's a shuttle service from there to Walton on the Naze. Travellers by road can park in a fairly large car park just opposite the railway station, although today is a Sunday and the car park is fairly full. Walton can also be reached by a bus service which runs from Colchester, and turning right out of the station brings you to the beach. And of course you'll also see the pier. Back at the car park on the right hand side, I'm now going to walk down to the church and walk along the high street. The church itself of course never changes. So I'll just take a quick walk inside. I'll now walk down the high street. Here's the really big change. The building you see in front of me there is what used to be the Singing Kettle, a cafe which has been well known over the years. And it was the Singing Kettle for about 60 years, since the 1960s. But it's now changed and it's now a Turkish restaurant. Opposite the Turkish restaurant is Tesco's, one of two small supermarkets along the high street. On the right hand side here is Newgate Street, where quite a lot of changes have taken place. This is another of the changes which have taken place in the town. 3 years ago this building was the Royal Marine Pub. It's now the East Coast 5 restaurant. I'm quite friendly with the owner, who's Greek, and sometimes they have music. And right opposite is a restaurant which I particularly like going in. It's a Thai restaurant called the Pearl of Samui. There's Yates's fish and chip shop and a couple of fast food restaurants as well. The Victory pub has reopened its doors. Walking back to the high street you'll find the Naze cafe and bookshop, where you can enjoy a cup of coffee and you can either buy or borrow the books there that are on display. Quite a lot of the books cover local topics and local history of the town. And back in the High Street, this is the town's small but friendly library. Opposite the library you'll find White's Pie and Mash Shop, not my taste particularly. And you'll also find Bartall's hardware shop, which sells just about anything for the home and garden. And alongside Bartall's you'll find Tollgate Fisheries, which gets my vote for the best fish and chip shop in the town. Just before reaching the traffic lights you can pamper yourself at the nail bar or give yourself a tan. And just a little bit further you come to the other supermarket in the High Street, and this is the Co-op. And next to the Co-op is the Queen's Head pub, which is reopened of course. Quite enjoy going in there for a pint on a Sunday afternoon when there's live music. At the end of the High Street there's the Bikers Cafe. I'm not a biker myself, but I often pop in there for a coffee, and they occasionally have live music there as well. By the traffic lights at the end of the High Street, turning right will take you back to the pier, but I'm going to turn left to walk to the Naze end to view the Naze Tower. And it's nice to see a queue outside the ice cream kiosk again. And down the stairs there's the kiosk on the prom. And this is how the beach looks on a September afternoon in 2023. Just a little further along towards the Naze end is another pub which is open. This one's called the Bath House, which is my local. And a little bit further along is Bath House Meadow. Here you'll find an indoor swimming pool and fitness centre. And also the Columbine Centre, which has a hall where they have music events, and it also has an indoor bowls club. Just past the meadow there's a junction where the main road bears round to the left, and a lesser road on the right hand side going towards where I'm heading for, which is the Naze Tower. A little further towards the Naze you'll find the original lifeboat house. It hasn't been used for many years. Later on it was launched from Walton pier, and for a while it was a museum, a lifeboat museum, but that's not open either these days. Just here is the Fisherman's Cafe, which of course is now closed. It's the end of the season, and the last of the beach huts along the prom you can see just here as well. I particularly like this row of houses just here. Not sure how much they're worth. You can reach the Naze Tower by road, or there's this little pathway which also leads to it, alongside a little walk down to the beach. And just here there's this lovely little anchor, and eventually you get your first view of the Naze Tower here at Walton on the Naze, which is where I'm heading for right now. The tower was built in 1720 by Trinity House as a guide for shipping entering Harwich Harbour. In World War II it was used by the RAF as a radar station, and was a lookout tower during both World War I and before that as a threat for a possible invasion during the Napoleonic Wars of the mid-18th century. It's also been used by the Coast Guard and by the Navy as a semaphore signalling system. Just here there's a cafe and an Essex Wildlife Discovery Centre. The tower is 86 feet high, and you'll find 7 floors where there are art galleries, and the top floor, the 8th floor, is the viewing platform. On the way to the top, and on each floor you'll find art galleries where paintings can even be bought. And you can also have some food. There's a kiosk just outside the tower where you can have coffee or tea or various cakes. I particularly like this painting here, which, although it's been painted on canvas in 2D, but the artist has managed to create a 3D effect with the cliffs. More paintings and a few photographs on canvas on the 2nd floor. You can enjoy your refreshments on the 1st floor and the 2nd floor. Up to the 4th floor, and here's a display of fossils. This tower on the 4th floor was all made out of matches. On the 7th floor you'll find various maps of the area. In the northerly direction you can see the twin ports of Harwich and Felixstowe. Just here you can see a couple of pillboxes down on the beach. They were used as lookouts during the Second World War. There's a lot of coastal erosion here at the Naze, and they've now sunk into the sea. And looking into the sun towards the south, there's the town. I'm now walking back along the prom towards the Barker's Cafe, and I'm going to walk along the front towards the pier. And this is another one of the town's pubs. This is the Royal Albion. Well, this has to be the biggest surprise for me today. I walked past here only a few days ago, and this pub was boarded up, which it has been for many years, certainly since COVID. And lo and behold, today its doors are open. So I'm going to check it out. The pier is another feature of the town which has reopened, although it has had a complete overhaul. So I'll take a look inside. Most of the fairground rides have disappeared now and been replaced, as you can see, by video games. And there are plenty of slot machines to tempt you to win some money. There are still some rides up here. This is the Walton. And the most recent addition there is the big wheel. Unfortunately, you can't walk to the end of the pier. It's unsafe to do so because of structural damage, which is a shame. looking out from the pier, you can see the many beach huts that line the promenade. So this is as far as you could walk on the pier, but in the distance you can see the lifeboat, which is still called out for vessels in distress. And of course the pier is still popular for anglers hoping for a day's catch. So I'm now back at the church, and opposite the church is Kirby Road, and in Kirby Road you'll find two relatively new supermarkets, Aldi's and Marks and Spencer's just behind it. M&S moved from Clacton a few years ago, where it was a food and clothing store, but since moving to Walton it's now just a food hall. And behind the supermarket there's a fairly new housing estate. It's worth mentioning that the new housing estate was built on the former site of the Martello Caravan Park, which no longer exists. However, the Martello Tower is still standing. You'll find 103 of these Martello towers around the south and east coast of England. Most of them were built between 1804 and 1812 to defend against the armies of Napoleon Bonaparte during the Napoleonic Wars. They would house about 30 officers, and most of them had 2 or 3 floors, which supplied the ammunition for a single artillery gun which would have been mounted on the top.